Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all we viewers them around the world, wherever you may be. We hope when I go get the time and the patience for listening to we from beginning to end, and any meaningful contribution you get by way of suggestion, by way of questions, for feel free for call we. We may not get to you right away, but please bear with we if we hold you on the line because sometimes other people in the talk and we make we analysis. So, but this is a give and take kind of program, so we all can learn from each other. And please, we don't have any guests today, but we still get for remind people and for say this is a program that encourages and preaches respect for each other, respect the host them, disagree, but disagree with respect, and then state your reason why you disagree with anything the host say, and then we the host also know better not for disrespect anybody, because we try for encourage, not for discourage people them. Today we're not getting any guest, so we're not go even try for address you now on attacking the guest, but we just encourage you now for say, please, when you call, just try for be respectful and state your opinion in the best way possible, because this we all get for land. This democracy also involve that. You see, democracy not just for vote no more. Democracy also involve exchange of free flow of ideas, exchange of ideas without you getting upset or cursing the other person. Exchange of free flow of ideas. So we strongly encourage that. Without I also want to make una know say today, and I mean Professor Kutubu, they make the presentation. We there, darling Miss Fadima, and leading host or co-host. Dinner today because it gets some bearing in family. So with the good day. But maybe it will get time for watch the show. Don't be surprised if you call in, or for Musa every day he come in because he get the ability for join the show from in telephone or from a computer, laptop. So, but for right now we're not there. So now me, they play the acting or the leading role, in your role and me your role, because Professor Kutubu didn't have for himself. So we hope that not go bother on too much for say, well, I not see me darling Fadima, so I not get time for listen. Because we all get we fans them. So please be patient with we. For the moment, we get different topics that we're going to talk about. The leading topic, we'll get for go through that of waiting President Bio in speech at the UN recently. Me and Mr. Kutubu and Ms. Fadima be there pan one other show, one or two we on show on Friday night, Saturday morning. Now some part of the world, Australia, England, it'll be Saturday morning when I'll be next time to win, and I'll be 8 o'clock to win. So we discuss that issue there. And sometimes we get overlapping fans them. People that want to watch this show, then you watch Miss Matilda and show. That show will be there Friday night. Now Miss Matilda and show, but we'll be just there as guest host for just help because Miss Matilda not able for come. And the main producer, Mr. Tarali, also had an emergency. So we were there just helping, and we did discuss this President Bio in speech to an extent. But for we on audience, we go over the speech again for make sure say everybody get a crack at it, and would I not be listening for just we go play them for make una listen, and then when I state an opinion, if una agree, disagree, or which portion una agree with, what you wanna make una your assessment score of the speech itself. Okay, so that said, I make a pass on over to Professor Kutubu, who is here with we, and let himself just introduce himself. And of course, when I know me by now, this is Mr. Shillon. You know, I'm always introduced as the lawyer, even though Mr. Shillon is sufficient. But I just want to make, if somebody to watch the show for the first time, for no say this now, Mr. Shillon from North Carolina. Now, if you call from Australia, the number will be 61-280-064-352. 61-280-064-352. If you call on WhatsApp, it will be 343-997-5828. On WhatsApp, 343-997-5828. If you call from the UK, it will be 44-203-239-9581. From the UK, 44-203-239-9581. And then we also get the toll-free number from within the United States. We're at 866-944-7722. 866-944-7722. I don't know how effective a toll-free number works with respect to overseas calls, but WhatsApp can take care of that. So that said, make a turn over to Mr. Kutubu Kuruma, with distinguished professor. Professor, over to you.
Thank you so much, Attorney Shillon. I'm glad the way you take the 6th day of we distinguish chief host, the Fadima, like you correctly say. He has some family emergency when I beg, not going to come, and I believe say, the entire viewers team. At this juncture, go and send the sincerest condolence to him. Then we stand with him, we sympathize with him, we deal with him, and we pray, say God, will make them and go through this, especially at a time like this, at a difficult time like this. She's in our prayers anyway. And of course, one thing I like about viewers, we get this flexibility where at any time, the producers say we anchor them, we people, and they move from one station to the other. Like we say, last Friday we'll be there at the Machida show, we're there. Now the good thing is about viewers, they teach flexibility and commitment and dedication. And like you correctly welcome, we get them. We are all agree for disagree now. We just say they go for land formula. Not to no more land formula. We just say go carry one land formula. So with that, I will send them back to the chair, Mr. Shillon. They come up with a lead story we will talk about. Back to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Kutubu. Now, we get many stories there. Topics or headlines, sub-headlines them. But the main topic for today, would they revisit or would they visit, because for this show we are visiting. If you link on to Miss Matilda and show on Friday night or Saturday morning, would they revisit President Bio in recent attendance and in speech we give na the United Nations. We want for let people and listen. Then we go make we own analysis. We go make we own assessment with the host, and then una welcome for calling and make una own assessment of what una hear. So that said, we go ask the control room for play the video for we. So we go listen and hear what he says. Thank you.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Mr. Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. I request protocol to escort His Excellency. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and to invite him to address the Assembly.
Mr. President, the Secretary General, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate you, Mr. President, on assuming the responsibility of steering the work of the 76th session of the General Assembly. I I assure you of Sierra Leone's fullest support during your tenure. I also commend your predecessor, His Excellency Volkan Boksier of the Republic of Turkey, for the effective and efficient conduct of the 75th session of the General Assembly. We deeply appreciate his efforts in galvanizing a multilateral approach to containing the COVID-19 pandemic and handling its multifaceted impacts through several high-level meetings. I also congratulate the Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, on his reappointment. I assure him of Sierra Leone's continued support as he leads and coordinates the United Nations response to persistent global challenges. Sierra Leone associates with his call, among other equally important global matters, for prioritizing COVID-19 response, vaccine access, equity, tackling poverty and inequality, the impact of climate change, and promoting gender equality, human rights protection, and promotion. Mr. President, our collective aspiration as a safe, equitable, and prosperous future has been challenged over the last 2 years. As the world wrestles with the tragedy, trauma, and adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, Sierra Leone appreciates all COVID-19 specific resolutions of the General Assembly and Security Council. Sierra Leone is also fully supportive of all policy initiatives that advance multilateral cooperation on fighting the pandemic and implementing measures to mitigate its long-term effects on lives and livelihoods. We believe that our collective commitment through multilateral partnerships will see our world through the throes of this pandemic, build resilience, and recover sustainably. The theme of this 76th session of the General Assembly, Building Resilience Through Hope, is therefore most appropriate and timely. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted lives and economies, constrained development due to repurposing of development finance and the withholding of private capital, escalated the threat of climate change, food insecurity, broadened the inequalities and justice, and increased fragilities. Nations risk not meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and building resilience against future shocks. However, amidst premature pessimism that the familiar world order has unraveled, Sierra Leone sees the possibility for renewed optimism and new growth. As a nation, we are grateful to the United Nations, friendly nations, and multilateral institutions that have worked with us to navigate the stormy period since March 2020. Mr. President, in Sierra Leone, through our Quick Action Economic Response Program, we are building fiscal resilience by investing in agriculture, human capital development, and expanding productivity through economic diversification. But we believe our post-COVID recovery will be anchored in increased private sector investments, international trade, and development financing in growth sectors. In that regard, we have created a conducive business ecosystem, amicably resolved business disputes, ratified international trade and labor instruments, and continued to make progress on the fight against corruption because it is good for business and governance. Our structured health preparedness plan that has been implemented with close attention to science and data has helped save lives and protect livelihoods. Mindful of the need to save lives and preserve human dignity, Sierra Leone has been proactive in interrupting transmission chains, curtailing infection, minimizing death, and mitigating the effects of COVID-19 on our population. We commend global solidarity around the provision of COVID-19 vaccines to our nation. Especially, we thank the People's Republic of China, France, the United States of America, the COVAX facility, and other multilateral institutions. We are ramping up vaccination rates and gaining greater vaccination coverage of our population. The worst of the Delta variant may be behind us, but we remain ever vigilant. Mr. President, throughout the COVID-19 period, we have done more to improve human capital development, support the most vulnerable of our citizens and communities, build strong institutions, create more inclusive democratic spaces, build infrastructure, and ensure public service delivery. To our minds, resilience is not to be hoped for. It is to be worked for, and diligently and purposefully so. We no longer wish to be perceived as a nation that is saddled with tragedies and failures of the past. We no longer wish to be seen and spoken about as a nation recovering from civil strife, to Ebola, and from bad governance and economic gridlock to food and climate insecurity. We are a nation striving ever harder to fulfill our enormous potential. Our peaceful democracy has matured. Predictable, regular, and peaceful elections are the norm. Civil society actors are partners at all levels of governance and public service delivery. We have established an independent National Commission for Peace and National Cohesion to foster social cohesion and further consolidate peace in the country. Mr. President, we continue to remove threats to democratic freedoms and human rights. We have repealed a half-a-century-old seditious libel law. No politician or rights activist is imprisoned for expressing his or her beliefs. No journalist is imprisoned for the practice of journalism in Sierra Leone. We have abolished the death penalty in our nation. Throughout the COVID period, we have promoted the rights to education through creative solutions, including nationwide distance learning and hybrid education technologies. We have added 800,000 more learners, increased domestic education financing to 22% of national budget, and learning has continued throughout the period of this pandemic. Our policy of radical inclusion grants tuition-free and safe access to quality education to all learners, including pregnant girls, parent learners, children from poor and rural areas, and children living with disabilities. Coupled with comprehensive school safety measures, a revamped curriculum, hybrid education technologies, credible transition examinations, school feeding, school health, and other forward-looking policies, we are making steady progress in Sierra Leone. We seek partnerships to further expand these investments in education, technical training, higher education, and entrepreneurship. Only then can our young persons seize the opportunity to expand the economy, innovate and take advantage of 4IR technologies, and create new possibilities for our nation. In fulfillment of the right to health, we simultaneously battled COVID-19 and other disease burdens such as malaria, HIV, TB, thanks to Global Fund. Gavi has supported the provision of more vaccines. We are reducing maternal and child mortality right across the country and look forward to more partnerships to make even more progress. In respect of the right to work, we have regularly paid salaries throughout the COVID-19 period and provided support for vulnerable populations in Sierra Leone. There is greater internet penetration, and we are increasing energy access through the country through a mix of sources, including solar energy. Mr. President, Sierra Leone associates with international efforts to protect the rights of women, get more women workforce ready, expand access to resources, and promote gender empowerment and equity. Building resilience and inclusive post-COVID societies involves increasing access to justice in a safe and secure society. In Sierra Leone, we have expanded legal aid advice services to poor and underserved persons and established special courts to fast-track cases for sexual offenses, social security, corruption, and small claims, among others. Sierra Leone urges global solidarity on access to justice and remedies for survivors of sexual violence. This is building upon our domestic effort against sexual and gender-based violence. In that regard, I have directed the mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations to sponsor a standalone resolution on this issue at the General Assembly. Let this be the year that the United Nations will give all survivors of sexual violence the remedy they deserve. We will continue to work closely with partners on cybersecurity, digital public good, and to curb irregular migration of persons. We have complemented international action with local initiatives and cooperation models. Mr. President, the threat of climate change in land degradation, erratic rainfall patterns, rising sea levels and temperatures loom large. These together threaten food and water security, fish resources, and energy access. Sierra Leone is committed to all global climate action commitments and looks forward to participating in the upcoming UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow and in the 15th meeting of the Conference of Parties of the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. We are integrating climate-smart policies and projects into our development priorities. Last year, we established a statutory agency to enhance our capacity to deal with the full circle of disaster management. But as with other LDCs, the climate financing gap remains a key challenge to implementing our mitigation and adaptation measures. Accordingly, Sierra Leone joins other least developed countries in calling for a green climate fund to meet the $100 billion target to support the mitigation and adaptation plans of developing countries. Thus, we can create new green jobs, especially for the youth and women, create sustainable and inclusive communities, and build resilience against climate change shocks. Mr. President, in spite of this progress, our sub-region in Africa are confronted with peace deficit arising from violent extremism, piracy, and other forces of instability. The Continental African Union and sub-regional ECOWAS are fully engaged. We urge greater collaboration and closer partnerships by the United Nations with these bodies and governments to usher in a more peaceful sub-region. My country provides leadership to the group of 7+, G7+, conflict-affected and fragile countries. We reiterate the nexus between peace and development and reaffirm our joint call for global ceasefires and the pursuit of peace through national dialogue and reconciliation. Only then can our nations walk out of fragility into sustainable development. Why the COVID-19 pandemic is universal? It has disproportionately affected countries such as ours in the G7+ group. The world's poorest nations face the grim challenge of global economic downturns, reduction in foreign aid, and increase in trade deficits. Therefore, the success of global recovery efforts will depend on the recovery of these. We depend on the recovery of these countries in fragile situations. We have undertaken voluntary national reviews and peer reviews as self-assessment tools to take stock of the progress we have made and challenges with which we must contend. We believe that with ongoing reforms, we can transition from fragility to a sustainable and resilient future. By investing in human capital development and building effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions, we believe that that future is attainable. Mr. President, a fairer and more equitable post-COVID-19 world order is possible when all nations and regions of the world can dialogue as equals. We must eradicate hierarchies of power and discuss our common concerns and shared aspirations as equals. Sierra Leone notes the remarkable progress made by United Nations and member states on decolonization. We therefore encourage member states to map out fresh approaches for the advancement of the decolonization agenda in line with the mandates contained in Resolution 1514. A post-COVID world order requires more partnership and more collaboration with input from all nations and all continents across the world. We cannot exclude the voices of 54 nations of the world and 1.2 billion of the world's population that live in Africa. We cannot justify those exclusions with power structures set 75 years ago. We must reaffirm our common values and address our shared aspirations as equals. We can start to redress these gross imbalances by reforming the Security Council to make it more broadly representative, efficient, and transparent, and thus to enhance the legitimacy of its decisions. Sierra Leone recognizes the demonstration of the commitment to instill new life in the discussion on the reform of the Security Council. As the coordinator of the African Union Committee of 10 on the reform of the Security Council, Sierra Leone is pleased to note progress made during the 75th session of the General Assembly in the acknowledgement of the wide recognition and broad support by member states for the legitimate aspiration of Africa to play its rightful role on the global stage. As asserted in the African Common Position articulated in the Eswini Consensus and SAT Declaration, redressing this historical injustice against Africa is an urgent priority. Africa demands no less than 2 permanent seats with all the rights and prerogatives of permanent members, including the right of veto, if retained, and 2 additional seats in the non-permanent category of the Security Council. On behalf of the African Union member states, I urge all members to demonstrate their renewed commitment towards reforming the Security Council and making it more representative, inclusive, democratic, transparent, and accountable. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by reiterating that Sierra Leone will work with partners to enhance the multilateral rules-based order, collaborate on our shared post-COVID global agenda, and build back better and more sustainably so. Thank you all for your attention.
Au nom de l'Assemblée générale, je tiens
On behalf of
Okay, so now we don't hear the president in speech. I hope some of you listen to him. I hope some of you get opinion. We wanna go express. We go try for analyze them the way we see them. So we go from there. So let me call on Professor Kutubu, who also has a radio show. So we the broadcast at least twice a day, 5 days a week. No, 6 days a week, as a matter of fact, except Sunday. So he always can touch on anything here way before we get to him because we on a weekly program. So I will call on Professor Kutubu, who, as you now well know, is very vast and very, very contemporary, which means they're up to date on some of the things there when it comes to the United Nations, international politics, international leaderships. So, Professor, I'll call on you, having listened to the speech by His Excellency, retired Brigadier Dr. Mada Bio, for tell me what you think about your speech.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shilon. As a matter of fact, what you mean do, I stay away from the compendium of which was misinformation where it can by the domestic aspect of the speech where back home, meaning trying for give the world as to what actually they accomplish. Now the law left you're the wicked he put Bible say law left permit for the arrest. We will address that in another. What our focus on the foreign policy angle of them. And they really it appears say the Bio administration is very oblivious of what that the world order in the context of this international business, multilateralism and all that we talk about. And it further appear to me say in people in speech writers they not really sit down and make a research. Within the United States, United Nations, especially the Security Council. Right after the defeat of Mr. Hitler, where the world fed the menaces of Mr. Hitler, and then October 1949, the United Nations came into being. Waiting was established at almost instantaneous. Then the power, how they call them configuration in Omnicam. The Security Council was just going to be composed of 5 countries, 5 from the circumstances of the beginning. Then Soviet Union, China, America, Britain, France, this is all. Then get a reason why not just 5 nations in Nagoridi. America dominance in this context perhaps will not be established again after World War II, but then even more so when the iron curtain for them, thanks to Pope John Paul, thanks to Margaret Thatcher, thanks to Ronald Reagan. Therefore, you get only one world, not a trouble bipolar world, in one world, and that's the United States. So we need to forget this state. The Bio administration, they forget this state, and the other African nations, they forget this state. They get 2 worlds now, one world. They tell the way the American leaders they talk, they get people like Andrei Gromyko, they can't talk, people like Nikita Khrushchev, they can't talk. Those states are going to oblivion. Now the only person they talk about the president of the United States. And when they talk there. But even so, the United Nations now an extension of the US policy making apparatus, meaning US State Department, meaning that United States, they use that for lecture the world, for tell the world, waiting the greatness, the exceptionalism and all that thing. It really not there for letting the talk back to United States. Now with United States, it tell them, if anybody not believe, then it actually happened between France and United States. Just a week or two ago, what happened between them? It's the white flag. Let them just learn. But even so, why not third world country not will ever sit down at the Security Council, let alone SALONE? They don't have what it takes for play ball with the big guys then. One, you talk of exponentially corrupt system and continent where more assume say United States get the problem either with China or Russia. The chance for letting bribe any of them third world countries and for letting side with them is as plain as anything. So United States see all this. So the anticipation is threats to the vested interest. This not going to happen. So it will block them because they are very corrupt people there. But also, when they third world countries go offer now, they're not even pay the dues. They don't pay dues. Now America they carry the bonding. In America they get one to when they say put your mouth inside your money. They pay dues. They not get what it takes for carry out and foreign policy. They not get strong, credible armed forces. They not get the economic resources. How you now sit down with people them we all tell una bigger una they can't big to the bigger. So una they can't sit down big to them. When they give them una money, they una use that for bright people. So they can say, I not go talk about the domestic part. The foreign policy, what me want end up in now for tell everybody, except Osama bin Laden come back for be president of the United States. Now he will make any third world country sit down like the Security Council of the United Nations. But if me and you believe say Osama bin Laden not they come back for be president of the United States, you might just accept say that not go happen. That might be all and end all of the argument, sir. Back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor. I appreciate your analysis of what you hear about what the president talk about. I get several angles I can come at that speech day. Because Englishman get one word where they can say platitude. We SALONE with street language na big talk. So we heard the president do a lot of big talk. Okay? And the only thing from my own perspective where I think say the president should have been a little measured in what he say, and I'm not blaming the president himself. You get advisors for a reason. I blame the Francis and the Safadim because the president given at the position, sworn a whole, as a team player, mostly for guidance, I can equate that to a soccer match. A soccer team. It's not always the president is the smartest person in the country, nor in the cabinet. Likewise, it's not always the captain who is the best player on the team. Sometimes they make you captain because you get the ability for pull together people, for pick out the talent of certain players, for be able to put the right players in at the right position so we're not going to win. But the goal is not for win, not for lose. So when you give people like, I could give everybody the big title, Professor Francis, and former foreign minister Safad, when you put them as your immediate aid, now for guide you along, so you go, they also now you PR, public relation managers, what will make you look good at the world stage, at the African stage, and to your own people, because primarily, you're not president, not for the United Nations, for your people, and so we all will be proud of you. You come back and say, well spoken, Mr. President, you nail it. But in doing that, you have to be able to deal with reality. It's not enough for just write big English, talk things them, where some of which, and I get too much respect for the president for say, Paraputan were not true, some of which no hold water, some of which the president himself knows say, it can't be true. So why will you expose the president? I think that's a disservice to the president. I think that's a disservice to the nation. Well, when I get them big degree there, and the big pay owner they get, and the power owner gets, Una owe it to the president and the country to do some impressive work for make your president shine and not look ridiculous on the world stage. Now, where President Bio begin talk about, let me say, hybrid educational technology. First of all, what does that mean? You know, it sounds impressive. Are we now talking about who? I mean, specify exactly what this educational technology in Sierra Leone would they introduce, where they enhance or would they improve or would they facilitate education in Sierra Leone. Let us bear in mind, say Sierra Leone is a country, we all agree, even the president himself will agree, even though he's not of my generation, that the educational level of Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans has gone not only down, way down, way down. Once upon a time, if you finish from 6, you get the know-how and the knowledge of a man who get a bachelor's degree. Now, people who already finish from 6 may not be compared to people who finish from 2, we on them. This is a fact, but I welcome disagreement, and they'll tell me how. Because some of us can tell by the people in writing skills, we can tell by the inability for articulate ideas, we can tell by the lack of creative thinking and resourceful thinking. You know, we can tell by the disinterest in not in contemporary or international affairs, because the young people in today, when you go for a big college or you drop out, you begin to broke stone, you don't get no time for listening to world affairs. This is how much harm we're doing to ourselves. Americans then get to say, and then you own colloquialism, they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. First of all, we had a very well-structured system we inherit from the white people, the colonial people. I don't use the word masters because they were not our masters. They were just colonizers. So they left with a structured set of judicial system, which if we had followed, even if we just follow them all and left and give, we will not improve them, we will have been doing very well. But we not improve them, we not follow them, in fact, we will go down. They left with a very structured civil service. If we had followed it, we're not going to complain so much about corruption, because we know, say, we not inherit corruption from the white man. Now, a new phenomenon where we start, where we get independence. I mean, there's some facts we get to state. You know, we know, say, they left with a very good educational system. So the truth of the matter is, so when the president goes to the UN, it seems to me, for begin talk about the $500 per child, per this, I mean, people hardly make 500,000 leones, which is $50 a whole month. How could the president, boldface, at an international arena, they talk about a household, they get any benefit of any type of $500 per child, dollars? People don't even make, I mean, over 70% of the population only make 1 million leon win an equivalent of less than $100. Over 70% of who come. So these are some facts. And I'm stating these facts for people to realize that this has nothing to do with APC. It has nothing to do with SAPP. It has everything to do with bad leadership. And it doesn't matter whose party you come out. The thing I keep urging people to follow and to focus on, we have these two parties, APC and SAPP. I keep pounding on them. They have a history. If we judge them by the history, they are unfit to run the country. They haven't done any good job. I will not conflate or mix up, would I fix road, would I make street, and would I not make street? Not to say you to judge them. Now, would that improve your standard of living and your standard of living, now the ease with which you can able for put food at the table for you and your family. Now the ease with which you're able for put roof over your head for protect you and your family. Now the ease with which you're able for pay school fee for your picking. Now the ease with which when you sick, you picking sick, your family is sick, you are able to pay for in treatment. Now so for judge government. Not to, oh, that government, they make this highway and they make the highway and nobody eats highway. Highway not to pay you school. You know, given the choice between a good road and the ability for educate you picking, for pay doctor or when you sick, for put food on the table, you go choose the rough road. I don't think anybody mind for walk up and stone for go hospital with money in your pocket or the system taking care of you. You could prefer over a smooth road where you ride, where you go to the doctor and say, okay, and 700,000 Leon. You say, hey, well, I not get answer. When my picking go just get for die, or my wife go just get for die. So I am trying to train people and let them begin for understand. This not get nothing for do with APC, SAPP, Minde, Timini, because these guys, meaning with politicians in a salon, please listen to me. They will care less whether you in a Minde, Timini, Loco, Madingo. They are looking out for themselves, their friends, and their immediate family. That's all that matters. If you not believe what you have to say, just go on any part. You can go Bonth, Usai President Bio originate. You can go, I think, Usai Kenema district or Bo district, Usai Chief Minister, then get the route. You can go Usai Safa, Finance Minister, all the one that you can go there. I also ask the people a simple question. Because they appoint Chief Minister Francis as Foreign Minister, will not life any better than last year and the year before and the year before and the year before? I mean, America, that's what America teaches us. You do surveys, you do statistical surveys and see. Go to any part of that country. Go McKinney, Usa and Eskoromade. Ask the people them if their life any better because next day with them. If their life be any better, we ain't be president. Then go say no. A resounding no. So this idea, oh, this man I'm a district come out. This man are the same language we all speak. This man, we all not belong to the same tribe. You the fool yourself. And as long as you allow them politicians here for things say it that easy for fool you, they will continue. Now, where when I begin forget the know-how for say, my life no any better. If me they Kenema, my life no any better might be even worse under SAPP as it was under APC. If you dey Bambali district, now you for figure out if that's the case, which I think is the case based upon what we know. For say, my life not end better because I come up Bambali district because na day and Eskuruma come out. Then people then where they Kenema or where they Bo, where they Pujon, where they Kailan, where they Koinadugu. We get for be aware of that. So listening to we President go under the talk of, I mean, he even they use word like the phrase, if you go back and listen to the speech, they talk about fighting against corruption, you know, because that will help to facilitate investment, you know. They talk about the invest in agriculture and human capital development. How? Somebody tell me. Watching at the fact, you make this as a platitude, you make that statement in there. Back then with statistical evidence, tell the world, say when I take over, now so and so be exist, since I take over, now this is the situation, this is how people's lives have improved. This is what you do. For me as a lawyer, facts are essential ingredients to proving your point. You know, you just can't go in a court if you defend a case and say, my client not do it. because I talked to him. And he said not to commit a crime. You know? And then expect people then for listen to you. You get for meticulously, methodically, step by step, with the intention of convincing the people who you talk to. And the only way you go take the only reason why you go take them because you get respect for the intelligence, for saying, unless I go by this way, they're not going to even listen to what you have to say. So when the president stand at the world stage, he say all the thing there, agricultural and human capital investment, fighting against corruption. And we know on a daily basis, corruption is rampant at every level. We're fooling ourselves because the very international organization, this is another thing. People need to understand when an American, in spite of the development, or a Canadian, or a British, or a Chinese now, leaves his or her country and go to Sierra Leone, and go to Koinadugu, or go to Kailaun, you know, go to Trujon, you know, go all in district and they put you on district, Bond district. They left the comfort of the environment. They go into the bushes to study and animals and culture. There's a reason for that. They're not stupid. That's why they're always ahead of us. Because they are not only there doing research, then they try to understand with psyche. So when it comes to dealing with us at the negotiating table, they know how we would think. They know with soft spots. As Professor Kutubu said, why in God's name would anybody who is serious about anything in the world, with all the problems where Africa gets, with all the corruption at we level, even look at the coup in Guinea, we see so where Alpha Conde was the cause of the coup. We ignore that, we talk about we don't want coup. Because we don't want to deal with cause. Now symptoms no more with the ban. You see? So we need to understand, say, life doesn't work that way. So when we press it, you know, there are so many things, just as a matter of thought process, we can avoid. I mean, President Bio doesn't have to worry about a coup. Nobody likes a coup. A coup puts a country backward. It creates instability. We must learn to support whoever is in power, regardless of whether you like or you agree with it or not. If naim win, naim win. That's how we'll have to train with people then. And when the president succeeds, if President Bio succeeds, he succeeds for the country. So everybody for wish him well. You not get for like him, but you get for wish him well because he has become the father of the nation. Okay? So we get for maintain some balanced thinking. It's foolish on the part of everybody for say, well, what some people then refer to like President Bio, it ignore in people them. We don't in people them. Everybody in Australia, including visitors, in people them. He's president of the country. He's not president of it. If every president will come look out for a new group, and this is another mentality we have to avoid. Do you remember when President Momo was in power, then formed a group called Equity? It would have been nice if not just a social group for their own social gathering. But when they begin to become a political institution, that's dangerous. You know? I would love to see we as supporters and lovers of we leaders them for begin to look at each other as Sierra Leoneans. Let we fall in love with Sierra Leone, not the leadership. Let we learn to talk the truth when the leader they do bad, even if we're not born at the same, we're not coming at the same belly. This nonsense about Minde team in the local is destroying us, and we're creating a problem that we don't have. And I raised that point today. Most of us, we don't know tribalism. Most of us have friendship and friends across the board. You take like me, I born in Freetown, I go school there, I raised up partly in a Kailaun district, I go school in Abo district. I can't even recall any Creole friend I ever had, you know, in my teenage years. So should I just love a Creole man just because I'm a Creole? It's ridiculous. In fact, I wouldn't be that, but for I know better, okay? And so why can't we see each other as such, as just people of the same country with common interests? So when you see President Bio, then they come up with all this talk, even the vaccination. He talk about the vaccines, he say then the dispenser. But now this country, we see, then they talk about how many people don't get vaccinated, how many people are not vaccinated, how many people need a booster shot. How can the president just come and talk about, oh, they vaccinate everybody and leave it at that? I mean, to me, that's insulting. Come at the stage and say, out of a population of 7 million, we don't make effort, we don't go into the interior, we don't go, even the people in the village, we don't vaccinate 40%, 30%. That's, to me, how you talk, because you get credibility. You just don't go there and throw, in the law, we call that vagueness. Just use vague terms, and expect people and for buy them as reality. So that said, I just want to let people say, this doesn't help us, And one more light, I'm not going to call that criticism, but I'll call that critique. And I want people to know the difference. A critique is an analysis of a situation or a speech or something. Again, the critique when we get from of President Bio in visit, just the visit itself at the UN, I think it was wholly unnecessary. In this day and age, where Zoom has become a common means by which you can hang out with people from everywhere, and in the interest of the country, and the president knowing that going outside the country, he gets a significant amount of paycheck per day, and he knows, say, in ministers or in cabinet, he should have exercised a little discretion by either going with a small delegation, matter of fact, most of whom are not entitled to per diem, or the president could have waived publicly. I mean, to me, it's a common sense thing. Say, listen, I don't go to the UN, I spend 2 weeks, I'm entitled to $20,000 just by being out of the country, but I had to put that back, and I had to take them. That's leadership. Show we say yourself they pay some dues for the situation of the country, But above all, I thought it was unnecessary. The president could have stayed at the State House or wherever in office they, and participate as some other leaders around the world did. The president didn't have to attend the UN. He could have addressed the UN by Zoom as some other leaders did. But because that would not expose him being present at the UN, not expose any more than he would have been exposed if he had done his address on Zoom. But so again, I don't know if Professor Francis they advised the president of that. I doubt it. But to me, if Francis and others care about Mr. Bio and care about the country, these are some of the things. Then some people say, oh, well, maybe the president don't want to read that. Well, then you don't have any business with the president in team. If the president don't want, it puts you as an advisor, then they don't want to read you to say, you don't belong there. There's a thing called integrity. Resign. You say you were a professor. Now, England, go back to what you used to do, or go into farming or some kind of vocation. But you can't say, oh, wait, the president to take advice, this and that. No, now you want let the president take advice, because when you think, say, you're on the right footing and the president is going the wrong way, you resign. There's a word called resign. And we need to foresee more of that. So me not believe in just blaming the president alone, because the president by himself, how much decision can he make? That's why he has advisors to help him reach a reasonable goal. That said, Professor Kutubu, I hope I have not dominated the time, but there's so much to say that I just figured I can say these few things for right now, because I can give a lecture series from now to the rest of the day on these issues, because I'm very, very passionate about that. But I'll go back to you to see if you can, then we'll get other topics then we can go to. If we don't beat this topic to death, we can move on to other ones. So, Professor,
So please, sir.
you have,
Well, if
yeah,
you are not go to other topics, sir. No, if you are not go to other topic, I'm amenable to that, sir.
all right. We'll go to another topic. We've just been advised that there are some callers on the line. Let me take at least a call, and then we'll try to go back to the normal presentation. So, hello, caller. What's your name? Where to call from?
Hello?
Caller, yes?
Yeah, good
We can hear
afternoon.
you. Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Mohammed Masori,
Okay, Mr. Mansari, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Managing Director of Medicine Magazine for Africa.
Okay.
We look for one currency.
All right,
last
sir.
week, I've been talk angrily, but say I don't tell with the diaspora constant criticism also along World Hospital. Now we can build hospital for Salone. This week I want to go on thing that if we come together,
Yeah.
we contribute. The government not from the college. We will actually be to hostel. So they want to talk with the custom duty. You see, the level cap go ask for money now. The cost is very high. We're gonna meet the development for 12 years. We're finding clerk promising officer. After moving from 6. The cost of essence of manual by Now we say no, we got uniform custom duty for Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone. But we got them so high. Our passport will stop like Guinea. And these members in the parliament, they can table a bill for put the court of data, all that. But all they care about, we can't bullet. Second point I put up, now free education. I teach in this country for 24 years, now schools of Philadelphia. Now almost say education like the business of the local government, by the 50 state. All the 50 states, that's will be free education. What happened now? We are schools of Philadelphia, it go bankrupt. The mayor and city will pay we. But the governor of the state take about education. So that's the reason they say it's not criticize all the time and blame them. We the surrender there. Everyone can contribute 30 to the district to make the free because they're success. If you feel not responsible, because we for help the country, if we fail that they fail, now we're responsible because we do nothing but for criticize. In fact, that Emmanuel, what we have for your collect, student union government. When we, including other party, the jury, when it goes for B200 for collect, 7 ministers they resign. 7 ministers resign. So let's get distracted for them. But we not listen to them. When I go to parliament, we go to confidence, but we beat them by our vote. What to do? B200 for collect. 2 host them. But why we that when I go to for the possible for that country, we're not going to remember hospital, we never have a pre-education. We never have a custom duty. But for every criticize APC, SLPP. We will not to conclude not only for Ukraine, neither APC, neither SLPP could do anything for that country. So as soon as they go beg people like Jamil. We go beg 7 minutes have resigned. I read Professor Tubu say anytime when they try, the average of them would criticize. It could be drawn good time for Poland. Remember, I never from the college. From the college. For me to answer them. 7 minutes I resign. 7 minutes I resign. But we walk to and go through. We never through the distraction. I recall certainly 1 for the hospital, 2 for the court of duty, 3 for free education. Every man can be charged on a district to make free education success. Let me call you on that today's salon. I don't understand. I don't care about SPC. I don't care about SPP. What can we do? What can Jafra do? What can we do? I can say, ask not what I can do for you, or what you can do. What you can do for your country. What can we do for our country? It is time I take the responsibility for it helps the room. If we get $30 for Pulado, $40 for Sarah, feed our body, give you $30 for school. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mansari, for calling. To a very large extent, I think everything you say is in place. We as citizens get some degree of responsibility for help with country, just like how you quote President Kennedy Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So that is a quote that we love. But make we put some of them things in there, which you say in perspective. Some of, in fact, you come up the last time, you suggest this thing about hospital. And we in a VOS, we take them very seriously, and we're working on it. We lay the groundwork. For example, you say when I build certain buildings then at Frabe College. So one of the way you can help, now for tell us about the infrastructure, it's just like me, if I tell somebody, say, well, I don't build 2-3 holes in Freetown, I go help a little bit if I say, but I not get money, but I so and so and so and so I work. So help we with the creation, the foundation, the infrastructure of which you suggest, because we agree with you. The other thing is government, as a matter of policy, now them primarily responsible. Nobody forced them into the position where the whole world they criticize. Now then voluntarily, it does sound like a fireman. If you join a voluntary fire force, then host the bond, you can't say, hey, why you did the host the bond? Why you have not go help for put water there? No, I not be volunteer. Say, me, I go be fireman. You owe a duty whether they pay you or not. For go put that fire off na that host day. Primarily, the one that we would elect, where they'll come up, and me always say, the only thing we for motivate anybody for going to government, now for serve, for improve people in life. Any other motivation are the wrong reason. You know, any other motivation are the wrong reason. If you voluntarily jump in a swimming pool, you forget the clear intent for swimming. You know, go jump inside there, then you say, oh, I don't know how to swim. I wish you to do that. You can drown. And now we find some of them with leaders here, they are drowning because the intention, not to the right intention. So we cannot shift responsibility. As much as we believe in ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, that quotation, they go only with respect to which you can contribute to waiting the one the way they in power. Now they do. But the one the way they in power, because me or you, we're not responsible, we're not always self-responsible for SALONE. Anything we do, Nabunya, so they cannot put the citizens them at the same level with the one the way they did, and what we deliberately is not say they mismanage. But worse than that, if you, Mr. Mansari, want for go implement ideas where you don't learn in Pennsylvania, like you point out, look at the two main things that we point out. Extremely high duties. You know, the inefficient educational system in terms of free education. And you constructive suggestion that the ECOWAS country they need for come for discuss custom duties and try for making law, because anybody will understand any economic policy. When the duty low, more goods could come in at a cheaper price. The average person will get them. Then there will be availability. There will have to be shortages because there will be more importation of goods. You know, me no say, not to so with the think. So me and you, Mr. Mansari, me, Mohammed Shillon, no matter how we wish well, we're not there in policy making position. So what you to talk about so now they want the way old power. Now they for make it easy, like many other countries than they do. Like Rwanda, like Namibia, like Ghana, because then they implement policies for make it easy for citizens like you and me for come back. And why, you know, say, if you go SALONE, if you get the best of ideas, like what you do talk so, then go block you, tell them block you. As a citizen, even when you don't want government money, now you your idea, or you bring people in from abroad for can't help. So we know that. So it's not like criticizing. I don't want people in for look at. We look at how we know they make the effort. We have everything at our disposal. And we cannot keep a blind eye to what in the happen, who people and for who did it for no better. Give you a good example. Connaught Hospital. I was there in May. The lower level employees then go on strike because they not pay them for over 6 months. How could someone not criticize? How could you not say anything? Someone has to speak for the poor people there. And to me, I call that cruelty. And the hospital at the time was being run by someone where they say they work for the CDC, in America and Atlanta. CDC? And people and they don't get paid. CDC, you run Connaught Hospital, and the medical level of treatment is that deplorable. So one of our duty, we will point that out. We will call these guys out. So we not just do the talk, we walk the walk. So I agree with you. We should, why custom duty so high? Recently, the Fuller chief sits the bank or the governor of the Bank of Australia and lecture him about the economy and why the economy bad and waiting for do and how we duty high, and inefficient, encouraging people for divert importation through reports to that of Guinea. If Guinea get free port and they can function, why can't we operate with a free port? If Liberia then they outclass we, why can't we all work together, not for fixed prices, which I'm against, but how for eliminate that, for make sure say the people, the Fuller chief in Australia say, as things are now, the man will use for import 12 containers of goods a month. Now is only able because of government policy. Remember now, that Fuller man, they try for doing best. They want to bring as many goods into the country. But in a government, you don't get the power. So the Fuller chief said that same person, they now one container able to bring a month as opposed to 12. So you can tell that Fuller man, they say, well, you can do better, you can bring 20. But he can't because the system not allow him, not get the power. So we cannot leave uncriticized. Then we lead us here because then get the policy where they obstruct you, where they obstruct me, where get good intention for go invest. In fact, they forget the policy where you, Mr. Mansare, want go SALONE for implementing, therefore make things easy. Because we all know, say, not the government no more go do everything. America, yeah, 90% of what in the happen, the success, the Google, the Microsoft, what you call them, the Amazons, and so on. It is all private enterprises. The Walmart employing hundreds of thousands of people. But how are we gonna? But these people not to work by themselves. Government they make policy by which they have to comply. So now that foundation that we need, if we not get them, we can wish all we want. And say, Sierra Leone, we get this mentality. Or rather, you not get them, me not get them, let we all losses. Where Sierra Leone come with idea, then will kill your spirit. Where you come with investment, then they go destroy your investment. So we need to address that. Like Mr. Kutubu say over and over, we cannot just deal with symptoms. We therefore deal with cause. And one of the causes, na corruption, na inefficiency, na lack of pride of who being Australian. Anybody who watches what you call YouTube, if you're familiar with the Ghanaian, young Ghanaian fellow way, normally they go and talk about the developments in Africa. All the place away go insane, biggest disappointment in Sierra Leone. Now Sierra Leone, you find out, say, Sierra Leoneans barely own anything indigenously. It's all owned by foreigners. So there is a lot. So your point is well taken. But don't look at it as criticizing. That's just show you be make about the hospital. We took it seriously. We are working on it. Ms. Fadima is going to get in touch with you and a fantastic suggestion. And what you just talk about the custom duty. I mean, these are the guys that way all the PhDs where they call themselves professor. This professor, you just call yourself Mr. Mansari. But we get the guys who say that are the professors, they are the big name, and they hold the position. They're not to come up with you just suggest so. They're not to say that. They're not to say reduce custom duty. They're not to talk about that. So we should understand the intention with which, because their fellows there, they're not obstacles, they're not roadblock, they are not helping. So no matter how well intentioned you, Mr. Manseri, have or be, you're not able to do what you want to do for SALONE because of obstructive policies. And then you need to go invest in a country where the judicial system is weak. Where you invest, you want to be able get a legal system where it could protect you investment. You want a legal system where not corrupt. So if you don't talk about these things, and we do not say the system, now one of the worst legal system in the country, there are some good people within the structure, but they're not to the big man there. So we get to talk about all that in there. So we get to deal with cause and effect. We just can't think with about effect no more. You can complain about malaria all you want, but if you not think of how to eliminate it, what's in the cause, you will continue to get malaria. So we get to keep pounding these guys. First, the job, you not get to feel sorry for them. Now then choose them. Nobody not choose them for be parliamentarians or one for be president. But when they be president, now like anything else in life, you know go take some responsibility. Then when you get the responsibility and give the responsibility, you say, well, but what you yourself can do, not to me no more. No, now you no more. What you can do, now favor, now contribution, a love of country, like what you mean to do so, what you mean Mr. Kutubu to do, and a lot of way to do broadcasts, way to point out to people, because a lot of them people don't know. Now make with the deal with the underlying cause, part of which would come up with fictitious and things like tribalism, what we believe say doesn't exist in Australia, would they try to make them up? Would they come up with, when you criticize the president, I mean, like we use with brain power. If you're not president, you come up from a Limba tribe, not just go employ all Limba people. Think about the fact that there are other tribes, find competent people among that, make sure, say, a reflective of your intention of how well you want to govern the country. That's why you have advisors. Unless we deal with that, if one we deal with them patap, we will just talk no more, nothing will get done. So you've come up with some of the best suggestions then. We're working on it, and we appreciate you calling, and we will continue. We hope you will continue for look at constructive things then, just like the last time you talked about the hospital, just like now when you talk about it. But even Frabe College where you talk. Look, all governments don't tell Frabe College lost most of the land because of bad policies. If Frabe, say Frabe College in America, the entire Gloucester and Leicester, Frabe College could not be a hotel, shopping centers, apartment complexes. Now that we know, this is what in America, you did Philadelphia or Pennsylvania somewhere, when you come out America, and I saw you for think. Look, Frabe College. The Frabe College we talk about. When I one of with pride. Look how. Even land, people in Chief Frabe College land. So now the policy with the attack or the lack thereof. Now, so not to just criticism, it can be done. Sierra Leone, a country will be there far ahead of so many countries, we point that out all the time. But we chose for abandon with leadership, with position, and just take corruption as a way of life that is benefiting no one. Even some of them corrupt politicians here. When they die, because they hide the money, now what's money they end up with them? They benefit their family, they benefit the country, they benefit society and come out. Okay? And we will get a history. So that said, thank you very much for calling, sir. I understand there is another caller. Caller, what's your name? What's that you come out? Oh, what's that you call from?
Hello, Mr. Shilon. This is not Omar.
Mr. Omar, welcome. Thank you for being one of our ardent listeners and contributors. Nice to hear your voice again. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the way you are for Mr. Mansari. You see, we all want for good develop Sierra Leone. We all want for good do we own way we able. But just like what you say, we get people who don't entrust responsibility in their hand. and we not force them, then they did. Mr. Mansare Usa Edesu, community hospital. Let it call you by tell you if in America they contribute 10,000 for build community hospital. Community hospital, now government response, now government they build our councils. Now they build community hospital for the people. If the citizens that they come inside now in form of investment, but you don't go say you go there as a government, you collect tax from the people, then you expect again say the people have to contribute 1,000 because they live in the diaspora. We all understand, we all desperate for development in Sierra Leone, and we all want to go develop and we want. But then people then get the responsibility. Let them take care of the responsibility. Let them make things very easy and then reduce some taxes. Then they collect huge money and you know, sometimes when you talk on social media, people can come out, they can make as if you look as if you are stupid or you don't know what they talk. You know, but now the right thing, we go for all this, the authorities them to them toes. That the responsibility for build local houses for people. If Sierra Leoneans they go, they build houses, not a problem, yes, not development, but the government irresponsibility, they happen all over the world. Yeah, then get council houses for them when they afford normal buildings. You know, then they build community hospitals. We all there, we see what in the happen. Now we know the look here, we take sentiment. Would they there, would they see what in the happen, they see the way development they train now, they would take sentiment, we talk about SALONE, or would they take sentiment to talk about Africa. You know, Mr. Mansare will appreciate, because now the second time this, we appreciate let you go develop, but just no say now the government is responsibility for build hospital. If you want to go as a doctor, a trained doctor, go no problem, open a business, establish a business, look for partner, but yet still now the government is responsibility. Because we say you day not to una they contribute to build hospital, now government they build hospital through una tax them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Professor Kutubu, you get anything you want to say? I can comment on what Mr. Umar said, but let me give you a chance.
Well, all the thing they try for consolidate, you know, the things the way you will say to context and perspective. For example, the political establishment back home, they don't stop this week cultural extravaganza. Then we you don't know, we know lantern, we know parade, we know this, we know that, we know okay, we know fine. But the irony was na way na our extraordinary juxtaposition of irony. The president was entertained by the go boy day. We see him na United Nations Day. We are entertained. And I must tell you, I commend the guys then because they cultural show, they project the culture and tradition. We host them now, even though that's strange to them, but they not ban them. What do they do? They, you know, make sure say it is done within the context or the confines of civility and we take the right way, the rule of law, also other system structures. So we believe say back home and ourselves, therefore put modalities in place where we order them, we sew them, we go boy, we lantern, we paddle them because people they come over senior and they go dance paddle. All them thing they let them just put modality and structure in place so that thing will continue. But we'll ban them again, but they will can't enjoy and oversee. Now irony and contradiction, that's so now that me want to add to the discussion. So back to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Kutubu. Make I just add to what Mr. Umar say briefly, and he's so right. I mean, certain things then we said for look and not for even try for encourage government, because when you shift that responsibility there, for say you criticize, you just no. You make it easy for them. These guys need to know running a government not to begin playing a serious business. And when they candidate and begin to insult the intelligence of all of us by just acting as if they own the country, they know one for be accountable. They don't even get the decency for even whole press conferences. You know, we should hold their feet to the fire because the ordinary people in the country don't know the responsibility we them prepare, we entrust them with, but some of we know. So not give them a pass. Okay, what we go able to do, we go able to do. As Mr. Omar said, but not with responsibility, we for make that distinction there. In line of what Professor Kutubu just said, Professor Kutubu to talk about how the current government then banned so many social activities that had become traditional activities. Like in the Western area, in the Freetown area, you get paddle, you get different hunting them, you get native dances them. The watchnet, when more than cultural, because at the end of Ramadan, that's the traditional way of celebrating watchnet in the Western area. Even as far as Bo is not common in the Eastern province. And so why come in and ban their activities in there? Why can't we use with brains, with education, for enhance, for make them easier, for expose the Peking we born a Kala on this street? See watchnet one day, get no idea. That is just as foreign to them. It may be wise if we begin for use with intelligence, with creativity, for say, well, during the end of Ramadan, we can boss some picking into Freetown or something and just see which kind of part of where culture. You're not going to be a Minde, man. You're not going to be Minde for no and be exposed to. And the Mao Commander Western area, because I talk to all these people, the average Westerner from Sierra Leone, see and go boy, familiar with all the traditional dancers there because that no common na the Western area. If we all know one, don't you think will people for be exposed to that? Why ban? Because when you ban the activity, na laziness, na intellectual laziness, because you don't want to be creative, you don't want for raise with cultural level to modern day way of, if it was good in the past, and if it was acceptable to the white man, then why we are the ones, why are we the ones canceling that thing in there? It just don't make any sense. You see, but me call on the intellectual laziness because we just don't want to. But the irony of it all, like President Kutubu just talked, then we brother them, we them come on here, and then they go be the ministers them. Now then pull go boy in New York for welcome the president. We go boy in a part of traditional social activities or mascots. And we are proud that New York allowed them because the white man, he will be curious and say, what is this? You go explain to them, what in go boy mean? Whose part of the country? Then they pull up. The white man, not just the mayor of New York or the city council, not always banned, say, well, we're not watching this kind of thing. So no go boy. But we, the do unto we safe. So it's an irony that New York City go allow go boy for welcome the president in a country where the people don't even know what that is. Then we own country where we're supposed for be tolerant and more inclusive, we've been ridiculously exclusive, So again, let we know how we deal with ourselves and let we get progressive thinking leaders. Now, that said, we have several more callers, so let me go one by one. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where say the call from?
Good evening. This is Anonymous. I guess they call for you.
Okay, Anonymous, just turn your radio or your TV down a little bit.
I just did. How are you, sir?
Thank you.
I just want to comment a little bit about what Mr. Omar say, that it's not the government's responsibility. It's not the citizens' responsibility for build hospitals. I do agree with that, but also the citizens can do whatever they want. I do support the idea of people pulling resources together and building like hospitals, building businesses, because it boosts the country and economy. Right now in SALONE, if anybody gets serious ailments, then they look at going to India, going to different countries for let them go gain treatment. But at the end of the day, that they pull money out of Sierra Leone, go boost another economy. But if that money, they will get good healthcare system, we get good doctors in the country. When the people come in for treatment and all, that money they be contributed to the country economy. So I do support each and every one of us coming through and doing that. And when you buy these shares into this business, you go will them to like you picking them. Some of who we don't want picking and then country they not even want for your SALONE name, because then they see waiting they go on at the country, and that's not a place they want to be. These kids are here, they wake up in the morning 24/7 light. Then they Wi-Fi all over the place. Nowadays, the bus stations, if you go, they're able to charge your phone for free. There are places you go, you get free Wi-Fi. So why do these kids want to leave this perfect system to go to a country like Sierra Leone, where everything is just going backward like 100 years ago? But if you buy into this shares, say this dream way don't begin for camp, so this dream actually manifests. We then buy into these shares and build this hospital, and this hospital in the next 10, 20 years, it begin to generate some good income. If you will, so you begin the country in dynamics go don't change. And then you begin to look at it for saying, oh, mama buy something at SALONE, or papa buy something at SALONE. Now me don't become a medical doctor. I can go in, pick up from when mama left off, and I can even work in the country. You know what I mean? You give them something to go back to. So this for me is a very good idea. It's not like the government therefore. The government's not there. They hear us. They know what we are talking about. And if citizens, you get like 1,000 citizens, bring in, even if not $10,000 each, now somebody pull in, the government go see for saying, there is greatness in numbers. And they begin for afraid. For say the common citizens, then the people and don't begin to pull together, and they are doing masterpiece things like this. So then they fear, because they know for say money now power. They know. When you see you get 50,000 Sierra Leoneans pulling in $10,000 each, then go look for say if that 50,000 Sierra Leoneans they stand for begin for enforce rules and laws, then the parliament will shake, because they know for say these people are contributing to the country economy. So we need this. We deserve this. We should go for this. And if you are a medical doctor out there, you are a nurse or nurse practitioner, please make it your ambition for at least they go every once in a while and contribute to your country healthcare system by volunteering. I'm looking forward to something like that, and I'm praying. I want to go home. I really, really want to go home. If I get the opportunity right now, I'll pack my stuff and go. But I want to thank you all for listening. I love you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Anonymous. Thanks for calling and thanks for listening every week. I hope everybody here and will take into account what you suggest. So we get to the next caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you call from?
Hello, Mr. Shilon. How are you?
Hello, sir. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
I call Anonymous. I call from Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah. I respond to Mr. Masari. This last caller we just call. You know, all the idea within the bring it's a very, very good idea. You understand? And I look in a two-way. Some of the idea they make them be politician and they be lazy. Then they more thief. You understand? And they're really selfish. So one of the ideas there. Mr. Shilo, you bring guarantee say now then they kill the dream of the citizens in that country. You understand? You are really right. If in a lie, we all na the diaspora they will get that money and go buy things and go and the port force na they begin discourage you first one. Yes. For let you think they come up because one most of them the ministry post offices then get connection, especially then hospital then get in their minds the way they get deal the wheat, where they go big and then fake drugs and they sell and give people them very expensive. You understand? The thing is, what we for to be the citizen, we for stand against them, strike, determine them people any carry if you're not fixed with healthcare system or any one of them feel not fix and let them come out. Let the whole country stand up. But at the time of it, even we send money every blessed day, every month, we say one bill this now, then they kill the dream of that country. Honest, and I say they lazy. And then money because them money and they get finance for it. They get money, then they give budgets, then they pass them budgets, then they everything. You understand? We see when they say that then they get money when they come it now, when they support that side. Then they own that money, they kill the dream of the citizens them. How many people them see and that they want to go invest? Before that, they expect foreigners. And foreigners they take and like the type of way that the foreigners and they kill the citizens in that country. They more than really citizens them. Because all the things where they carry are fake because they want to make more money. But we the citizens them, if we can go with business now we country, we want them country improve. Like look, everybody bring a very good idea. But if foreigner not get no good idea, what you want in a business? You charge them in tax, every tax they pay. Well, they make a high price and they very expiring tablet them. Look, most of the tablet the way they see in that country, they check 100%, 95% of them tablet they expiring tablet them. Now fake drugs them. But when they sell and get it, not fit to say the government don't know. Most of them they know it. But it's a deal work. You understand? Unless we get for stand, the whole country get for stand. Who are going for help we? Now the judicial and the parliamentarians them. You understand? The police, the military, we all get for stand say no, this thing get for change. Like this guy where he stand for Dumbuya na Guinea, where they stand for in country. Now so we for stand na we country Sierra Leone, then Sierra Leone will be a better place. But if not, I they tell you for free. That's so we they kill. Now we say they kill with dreams them. So they make foreigner and they improve their lives them. You know, look, foreigner and they get everything in that country. Pass we. You know, thank you very much, Mr. Shilon. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you, sir, for the contribution. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's that you call from? Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's that you call from?
This is Mike. I call from Philadelphia.
Mike. Thanks for calling. Tell what you get. What's on your mind?
Well, I just want to say, whatever you say tonight, and I mean, I agree with everything what you say. And the problem with SALONE is any leader will come, you know, they're not to try for strengthen the institutions that we'll get, you know.
Correct.
The institutions and then therefore hold the leader they are accountable, especially the parliament, the judiciary. They're all weak, and the leader they deliberately they weaken them so they will able to do what they do, you know, which is wrong. And you know, what country we lead at them for think constructively how to develop the country. It looks like say they're not able. They lack that ability for think how to develop the country. They just know how to think for thief from the country. You know? When we say they're not, you know, they're not they put anything back to the country where the people they sacrifice themselves for vote for them, let them develop the country. Instead, then they take away from the country, which is wrong. And coming to the president's speech in New York, you know, I don't know if the president know they read his speech beforehand before he go stand at the podium, because you don't they do this over and over and over again. Even when you go to parliament, you do the same thing. He say something one not true. You know, even with this speech in New York, he says boku things they one not true. Even come to the climate change. When we say the devastation, what they do right now in the country, where they cut all the ticks and down, you know, it's very bad for the country, even for the generation yet unborn. You know, but they do that deliberately, just for put money in their pocket, and they sacrifice the country for their pocket. You know, Look at this place right now where they don't, I don't know if they sell on a loan then get for 50 million. The place by number 2.
Black Johnson.
Right. Why they do that? Why they not come out to the public and tell the people what they want to do? And why they do that for? What a place then they where they already start up? Where we move to? No, then they destroy the country all over the place. But they know they think for the betterment of the country, not for their own pocket. Just like he grab and buy Mosca for the chief there. Look at Connaught Hospital. Look at Cottage Hospital. That hospital, they need help. But now the chief, they're more important. Now the problem is with leader there. The priority there, we tell them for put the money, they put on it, they put it in the wrong place just for continue to suppress the people in the country, which is wrong. But like I said, thank you for the show. I'll go continue for the calling.
Thanks for calling. We appreciate it. We appreciate it greatly. Please continue to listen and make your own contribution. We try to minimize, not forget too many people holding. So we'll take one more call and then we will go into analyzing some of the calls and we will get. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you call from? Hello, caller.
Yeah, hello. My name Lambin. I call from United States, Maryland specifically. I just want to tell you all thank you. At least they stay ahead this particular program. At least I don't do very well because I don't follow now for quite some time now. Yeah, I pray to God, let God give a good health and a long life, at least for the educated and sensitized way about country. At least what me don't they get from the brothers and sisters that we don't they call. It seems like for our country we not get anything like a national agenda. We forbid the people's agenda. Yeah, so I believe now one of the things this way they suggest yes, this time around we really need for ask them people them politicians because it don't take for far too long with them guys they are in the deceive way. You see. Manifesto, no manifesto, with once then kind of power, something different. You see? Even when you can now until you meet your predecessor, things that were good, we sometimes don't do. When you come, you undo. You start afresh. Then they really affect development. So me, that one day I just want this time around at least we get something with the people's agenda. We now at the abroad diaspora now we brought with Sarah Lee, the one them back home. At least we all sit down, make we design, an agenda. We go take into consideration all the necessary issues them. We for help this country, so that when somebody can power, at least now that you for walk in. No matter what, now that one day you forgo it. Yeah. So of course, for this recent with president, at least with our justice here, I think so. We president just the try for London waiting and call for the international war, at least for his own benefits in government. But really sad because when you look with people and how they suffer, lights. No day, water, no day, medical, no day, everything, even the free education. At least for country, we see with people and they save 500 and more. And with some of us, we know the kind of support they give to small families them back home. Yeah, for lady they can't tell you they go talk na the outside world say now this amount of money who people and they save from this free education. Well, of course, from where it can be, I don't know if it don't ever build any school. You look, the access which is fine, but go look the school same. Yeah, no expansion, no nothing. You see, the number just they increase down at the schools. Also, I tried this until they did 40, until now double or thrice. It's so sad. So, tell you, thank you. So, now that no more my contribution, Mr. Shilon. Thank you very much, and Professor. Bye.
Thank you so much for calling and telling we how you feel, because your point is well taken. And please continue to listen. As you say you're a regular listener to this program. You don't follow we. So please keep it up, and we hope we will continue for get you interest and encourage others for listening to the program every Sunday. Now, Professor, let me turn to you. You got anything you want to say so we can wrap up
Yes,
this
sir.
segment? But I have a quick comment I want to make. But go ahead, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you. Well, we don't we call ourselves, but the thing we has never been part of the thought process, and until we embrace them, see that the only way that is starting point that they will get for good. You know, we say use the word say symptoms, we know the root cause. They call it how they talk about for being school for the problem we get under though, we go that thing where they call green, white, and blue, they not vanish into sinister circumstances. Green, white, and blue, you know they which not actually dominates we how they call them. Which now we thinking, which I think the emphasis there, solid green and the leader, solid red and the leader. So now for put this into context and perspective, once I did an SLPP, anything where the leader do, I don't care it hurts the country, he okay. Hear no evil, see no evil. Conversely, anything where if I didn't APC, anything where the leader do, a good. I can hear an example. Today I make a broadcast. Now, but based on which the president in the United Nations probably pick small things from his speech. He talk about democratic elections, cohesion, he talk a lot of things. So wait a minute, I said, well, okay, this talk here fine. You see, not to for just can make the flowery and egalitarian statements and all. We have to go beyond that. The postulations I come up with, if I share with you, let SLPP forget rid of this the power segment inside the party, and get rid of the Fatima Bio women's win at the party. Now get rid of that first. Because we talk of cohesiveness, free elections, or we all participate with it. But when we don't begin get the how they call it so, that a rock of Gibraltar now already erect and Nicola. So, like you say, it's not enough from my fine cosmetic statement. In fact, I think if anybody they were they get for comment on this United Nations, now Dr. Hassan, that meaning the president in Tanzania, the lady, she came into the place, she came there, she faced reality. You don't care for engage in platitude or just say things say for let it really level with your country and the world as a life. You don't give no rosy picture. If people think so, but when you been discuss that today, you talk say well, they did not get no choice because there has been a template, so you don't go deviate from the template because the predecessor not already can lay out something where you don't get no choice, you just get for go by it. So what we need for doing wrapping up, we first of all need to get a place in we thinking that thing what they call green, white, and blue. Meaning that we get for be able to muster the courage of conviction and fortitude and first begin hold we lead as a party accountable. That they will start first. We for be able to say, yeah, we like you, Mr. Bio, I like you, but guess what? Your actions they at variance with what you okay this country I go before. We for be able to tell them that. We for be able. And but we tell them that, and the sycophantic carpet bag in vultures them. Where they are the only two they good at praise singing, even on the face of the cataclysms of hopelessness and colossal house. Then garden. Now they don't transport glorify them that to then kind about demigod status. So when you talk about them, so now they first until we cross that barrier, say green, white, and blue, beat, pass, me party, and me leader. So now your contribution on that, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor. I just get a brief statement with respect to the caller's name in which you just say. Somebody referred to the Black Johnson situation where Australian government, this is an area at the peninsula, where they by the sea, by the Atlantic, then sell them to the Chinese. Them why they sell them is beyond me because it's senseless. And a very, very, very lack of vision act that one day. Then sell them to the Chinese. Them okay. If they sell the area to the Chinese because the Chinese then get some expertise what we need, we could bring them in as experts in conjunction with William people for implement or for impose or practice the same thing with the Chinese they want for practice. Why sell the location? You know to go to China and buy any of their own place because they're smarter than that. This is not the stupidity of what people do. So because if there any expertise, if there anything we can do for add to the economy, enough for spoil anything, if we bring them in, bring as expert for do the same thing, but we continue for maintain control and ownership of the situation. And look at the kind of thing. When a government sell a location for $55 million, people need to understand the relativity of such amount. It's like when we decide for sell you part of me house or part of me land for 5,000 leons. To government, $55 million is chicken change. Without any projection as to what the rate of return could be in terms of employment, will not take into account ecological destruction, now the area, environmental destruction, will not take into account that, we just sell. Just because this is the sad part about it. And this has been done. So for the one that we talk about private people and for go invest, if you're an Australian and you pull together, you ask the government, say you want to do that same thing with the Chinese them want for do. You get people and we go work with you. The government will never allow you to see the light of day if that was being headed by Australian. Because they bribe what they go want, they no say you go give them or you go oppose. You see, we need to put the problem where it belongs. This is what we keep reminding people. These guys running government are not honorable. They are lacking in integrity. They are not honest. They are not visionaries. They not care for the country. People need to realize that. So what does it matter to anybody if now your own tribesman take the country down the drain? Is it okay if you run the thing down in the valley? Now, so the inspiration and the heritage you want left for you picking them and you grand picking them. How many times would even hear we leaders in the talk about constructive things them? So this Black Johnson place, not only there by the Atlantic, not only it give exclusivity to them people and go fishing as far as 30 miles, take all the fish and the sea product them, ship them overseas, manufacture them at seas with them highly sophisticated trawlers them, where we no get. Then go manufacture them today, package them, product of China or product of some city in China and sell them. They can go as far as 30 miles, as far as the territorial water boundary can go. We don't even understand the basics for let we get sophisticated patrol boats and give with fishermen them sophisticated trawlers them when they go do massive fishing, encourage them for get industries so themselves go know how to make sardines, how to make and then canned sardine, how to make canned fish them, how for export them, how for do many packaged frozen foods and everything. You see, we not try for develop that. Instead, we just get Chinese. And it's not going to benefit anything. Now, for what information, when I know certain Chinese, when they get in that place, they end up finding gold. Now the area where they begin for mine. And then they begin for cut down the trees, where they affect the ecology as well as the environment. And in Miss Matilda in broadcast, then when the government became aware of that, God alone knows how much of the gold the Chinese them don't get unreported before. This is how we lose with resources. Stupidity, selfishness, greed, lack of foresight, you know? So now when the government find that out, the Chinese then say, oh, okay, we'll give them money, and then give the government so much money for put back in the place. I mean, for plant trees and anything in there. What's that they don't dig? The minister in charge decides, say, well, okay, we'll get this money. I can do other things with it. I not go plant the trees in there until we get a disaster. So these are the things we have to be mindful of. We leaders then are selling the future of unborn generations. Their policies are just destructive and not helpful at all to the country. And then they do this intentionally. These guys are not that ignorant. They're not that uninformed. They're just wicked. Okay? And so with the time for example, you got to criticize the president for this. We may disagree. But when the president in situations like this, you buy chiefs them brand new SUVs or motorcar. What is the president, other than for political advantage, why a president will feel responsible for buy chiefs them motorcar? Because in the hierarchy of government or governmental structure, you get the chiefs are head of chiefdoms. You get chiefdom government. You get district government. Even within a chiefdom, you get local chiefdom. Okay? So that chief there in the chiefdom, then they raise revenue. If we want to help them, then we teach them how to raise revenue, how to impose certain taxes or taxations for build up their financial base, for build up the environment, how to protect the coffee growers, the cacao growers, you know, and people like that. The chiefs now their primary responsibility down there, and then they receive salary. You get in every chiefdom, you get the president. I believe in a president they call them, but you get what they can also refer to as chief. You know, then you get the NA court, you get the NA clerk, one of the chief administrator. Then you get any councillors, then where they listen to cases where people in summons them, and they get very effective system. All we get for do it with book world or land. Now for improve the system, for make them more productive, you know, and more in line with waiting at the purpose. Now the president come here and I walk and say, "Pong, you buy motorcar for give the chiefs them." And our government money, not to your money. You see, this is how we run government, and it just doesn't care. You see, this is not the help. So where you get the chiefs them motorcar? And in most of these chiefdoms, the chiefs are not getting anywhere for go to motorcar to start with, to be honest with you. Chiefs generally don't move around that much. Now people, they come to them almost on a daily basis. One time for the chief in your health, you can walk around the town. But they not get trips for make, patrol for go. Motorcar is may be necessary, but that shouldn't be part of the central government and responsibility. But these are the things we do. You know, when we get Ebola, will government do the same thing? We'll begin for buying motorcar, SUVs for ministers then. You know, so I mean, we get a long way for go because we are just wicked. We are just so uncaring about what people them. Until we go come around where we go make people understand, say, this not got nothing to do with tribe. It has everything to do with people who not just care. The last time we'll get public housing. Now Sierra Leone, now be under the white man there with them build low-cost housing na Kisi. To my knowledge, the rest of the country not get low-cost housing, they not get public housing. So, I mean, what are these guys doing? They are not governing, they are playing. I played in the play. And then they take undue advantage of the people them not knowing any better. You know? So that said, because there's so much to talk about, I will just stop there and we'll move on to, if we get time for do another topic, which I think we do, we can bring another topic up, because we get several things we want to talk about today. You know, the other topic was President Bio in recent meeting but these are short topics. In recent meeting with the president of Vietnam, I read in speech. So to just go over that, we know Vietnam, there used to be two Vietnams, South and North Vietnam. North Vietnam was the communist side. South Vietnam was being backed by America for many years. And then the Americans tried for overpower, with their assistance, they want the South to overpower the other side. So the Americans, but those were the days when communism and capitalism were at odds. So depending on which side you did. At the end of the day, North Vietnam win. They run Americans out of Vietnam. And after over a million or millions of people were killed, okay, America did it for a long time, spent billions and billions of dollars fighting the Vietnamese, you know, and at the end of the day, North Vietnam win, then consolidates the two Vietnams, then it become one Vietnam. But from then on to now, Vietnam has become a very progressive country. Vietnam has done some extraordinary things for themselves, to the point that President Bio seem to admire them a lot, because they get one or two things in common with we. But we on civil war, compared to the Vietnamese, we on a pick and play. Because the Vietnamese, this was a serious thing. You had the world power at play, the Soviet Union and America. So we know they will not be that extensive, even though it was a very cruel and brutal, unnecessary war, you know? So since South Vietnam win the war till now, they have become part of the civilized nation. Then the economy, they improve. And to the point of we own president now, they even talk to them for see what we can learn. But then in further reading, I find it for say, with all the relationship with Vietnam all this time, it is us, we don't do over the years, I think they say about 15 or more years, the relationship in terms of economics has been steady, but on a one-sided basis. We continue for import from like $15 million worth of goods from Vietnam to now about 800 million, almost to $1 billion. But nothing said about waiting with the export. So you can see this vast imbalance. So we just the import. So we help Vietnam for sell them product. But what are we exporting to Vietnam and other places for maintain that balance of trade there? And for so say we save and the export to Vietnam. So we get an imbalance where Vietnam is exporting and we're importing Vietnamese goods to the tune of almost $1 billion a year. And there is no showing or statistics or evidence of what Vietnam is getting from us. And they are not stopping us. Now we now feel say we will be productive enough to do that. So I wanted to bring that thing up, because sometimes when we leaders, they meet with Denkan people, and then we say, oh, they meet with the head of state. I think that will point for ask why. And then one for meet with our leader there. And for just tell the people and say, oh, well, Vietnam didn't do so well, so we want to forget their assistance. This is another attempt to just stretch your hand for big. Let we learn technology. Let we learn what our Vietnam, what they help themselves to do. Not all every country will become America, France, England, Germany. But we get a lot of countries in Asia as well as in Africa with tremendous policies in place where if we copy, we go lift a lot of people from poverty, you know. So, Professor, I don't know if you get anything else, then we'll get some more topics we can touch on.
Well, but just perhaps for other facts, say that the foreign policy confusion is a foreign policy we seem for lack, direction, cohesiveness, and all that. Like you say, there is no way we go, get anything in return from waiting the happen. And first of all, like we say, we first need for develop energy. Now the country get for investors. Then you develop technology. Then you be like, for example, the new guy in Guinea now. Here's what you don't tell them. Nationally, on the pool now again for Kanguna overseas. Everything is going to be processed here. Everything. So then that way they also become an export-oriented economy. This is a different. Now this they want also want to do. But how do you become an export-oriented economy where you don't get the the infrastructure, the system, the thing that where it could help you for example, and then we get iron rod then as we get. But we want Barbados to get for imports them for camp. They pay for iron rod. We not sabi make nail na salon. Even nail, we need nail for bid. We need even cement. With all the Marapa mines, so get the things that we not get that technology for turning it to the cement. So the whole thing here, Mr. Shannon, is you really get to get for us to say whether Salon actually it don't really decide for making a meaningful contribution to the 21st century advancement. No, because at the starting base again they go back to the one they use the symptoms. We know they go to the root cause. For there we get to other things. First we forget something we will get for example, we get for invest in energy. Because any sound that if energy not if even the very free education, the free schools, the hospital, the what they talk about, first we get for develop the energy, sustainable energy. One way go able, drive all the things here. So without it, we waste some time. So the priorities in the focus on the Kulitobona is wrong. We need us to be very myopic in it. So now most of the grandiloquent declarations the way the president can make the United Nations it simply not going to work because you don't get the infrastructure, you don't get the system, you don't get the foundation. We will be able to promote it and the foundation is going to be built on energy first. Then we venture into the other aspects of manufacturing environment. So without that said, back to you, sir.
All right, sir. One word where the president love to use most times, sustainable.
Oh yeah.
Well, let me add sustainable as an adjective to you talking about energy. Well, we have to maintain sustainable energy if we want for maintain a sustainable, progressive, attainable economy. You see, these talks, like the which man say, talk is cheap. American man in the lingua franca then say, if you talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. So what you would see with leaders then, they do, then they talk the talk, they not the walk the walk. Sometimes, again, I go back to like Minister of Lands, Mr. Senesi. Now, the first and only minister we may know of, and there may be others that I'm unaware of, who understands what policy is and who puts his mouth where his money is and who talks the talk and walk the walk. When we begin to talk about land theft, land grabbing, Minister Senesi looked into it, listened to people them, implement policy, articulate the policy, and then say, ain't go try for make people and get prosecuted if they continue this stealing. Now, the sad part about it is the minister himself does not have the enforcement power. It can only go so far. So is there responsibility by the president to assist him? Because when you assist your minister, you assist your government, you assist yourself, you can cite that as an example of progress. So because now you can direct your attorney general, you can direct your chief justice for implement policies in place. You can tell your attorney general for prosecute, and the police chief who is being implicated by this land theft. I'm not the president, but I would be outraged if I were a president. Then the talk say me chief of police is involved in criminality. Whether it's a rumor or not, I'm going to ring you in. I'm going to ask you, what's this I'm hearing? And if you can't give me a convincing explanation, you're gone. That's what you need to demonstrate, not to just all politics, because sometimes I don't even understand what politics is. Politics means deception. Does it mean to be uncaring? Does it mean to be? So sometimes when people say it's politics, I don't even know what's in a politics. Politics say you don't care about people then. How can your chief of police, and there is credible evidence that the police chief is involved in this land, in covering up for people who are stealing people's land in exchange for him being given certain position? Why is the SEC commissioner not looking into that if he's serious about fighting corruption? Even if it's just a rumor. Where's the attorney general of the country? Doesn't that matter? Because these people are powerful enough to affect lives. The ordinary man with the chief, they affect people in life, but not in such a massive scale. So the thing is, when these things are, there are so many, when you look at the government, we're not talking about this BO government. It's the same thing with the Ernest Koroma government. These guys they just don't care. People need to understand that. So to me, I consider it rubbish. I don't even wish President BO to lose. I want him to win a second term. The reason is not because I love him, not because I care about him personally. It's not going to be any better for the country. If APC kind of power, they can get upset with me all they want. They have a record. They're just going to take off where they left off. The man who was the president still refuses to even give up the little power he holds to. That gives you an indication, that he wants to be pulling the string from the side. No, be smart, guys. Be smart. This is not your APC, SAPP thing. These are just bad guys on both parties. And some of these then guys said, and don't be APC and don't be SAPP, they are no good for the country. But you have a right to admire and support whoever you want. But look at the activities. Former President Koroma should be acting as an elder statesman, should be on the sideline, should be giving good advice, should learn from your mistake. But that's not what we see him doing. He is still embroiled in an inner fighting with organization just for power. You see? So when you look at these things, put the country above these guys. To me, Sierra Leone is above APC. Sierra Leone is above SAPP. Sierra Leone is above any one of we. Because when the country is good, we have laid a good foundation for unborn generations. And let me remind people, because sometimes we people in the government as if they get an arrangement with God for say, SALONE. No, as far as we know, the world is going to exist for millions of more years. And Sierra Leone is going to be part of that world. It depends on whether we face that reality today and make sure, say, we implement policies we go lead to unborn generations, then your well-being. We cannot mortgage the well-being of the generations that are thousands of years down the road. Other countries are protecting and preserving the environment and the country and the government for the generations who will come along. We are busy destroying, So me just want to bring that to our attention and for making us know, say, there's so much. These are things that could go on and on and on. But please, let's just learn and try to figure out certain things and be more mindful about our country. Do we have a caller, or should I just, because we're approaching wrapping up time? Okay. So, Mr. Kutubu, do you have anything else to say, sir?
There's a get caller. I believe, say, if we not get in, okay, but I'll understand so get caller.
No, I don't think we have any callers on the line. No.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't pretty much, wrap up, the thing. Again, we go center on the fact, say, nationalism now fundamentally lacking. You see, the thing is, we don't so much embrace partisan politics to the extent we don't actually kind of excise the country commot. But we finally failed for realize, say without the country, we cannot be talking of politics. SALONE has existed, as far as my own historical knowledge, my own history of SALONE, no. I think we go stretch back to 1808, where it became a colony of the crown, where they begin to put foundation, structures and things in play. And all of that telling we had, things then, we actually helped move the country from the boulevard of progress. We'll get a phone call and we get a call, sir. We get a call.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for continue, let me just take that.
No, we get a call. Well, no, not really call.
Okay. All right. Hello, caller. What's your name? What's your call from?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Shilon. This is Ms. Fadima. How you doing, Professor?
Oh, welcome, Ms. Fadima. It's always so refreshing for hearing your voice.
Yeah, I've been listening on the conversation, and I get to put small bit. You all are doing a fantastic job. The caller and the call. I mean, this is why this station is called Voice of Sierra Leone, for everybody in voice, everybody in thoughts. And when somebody talk, it inspire other person for try for the good, for progress, because we all want progress. And like how you say, the president, they talk about sustainable progress. Sustainable progress. Professor make a statement where he say, for we forget all them good things and the way they admire other people them. For we forget anything and they will get for put the structures in place which have been broken, neglected for years and years and years. Okay? And this president is not making it any better. I'm sorry, it's not making it any better. And Mr. Shilon, you made another statement where you say, President Bio, you want President Bio for win. I mean, like we say, we're not against President Bio, but maybe they have other options. Sometimes, it's up to the citizens at the written and calls there, because, they have other options. There are other options. There are other parties. There are other parties forming. We don't know yet who that the better person campaign. But sometimes when you see somebody in leadership that is really, really not doing the expectations, because a leader talks to their people, a leader communicates with the people. You say they have press conferences. That is how you meet the people. Not a leader where it look like this, because this is what it's looking like. Because he's silent to me. It's like he approves of anything and everything where they happen at the country, like he's satisfied. But the citizens of Sierra Leone, are they satisfied with this? That's why in 2023, the ballot box, whoever the next choice is, we don't know waiting again, but I believe they have other parties apart from APC and SLPP. I believe they have other coalitions that are coming together. We don't know yet. 2023, they're walking on the sideline. Let's see our other choices. Because if something is not growing, they put what up and I know they grow, they put what they call, you get for change, maybe the location change, the what they call. Because it look like we drive the same broken motor car, just different drivers to me. That's how it's looking like, in Sierra Leone right now. You talk of there's people were talking about taxis and the taxis, now they build stuff. Yes, in these countries that way, the taxis, now they make the roads, now they make the school, now they provide free loan. The citizens pay, they know it's the responsibility. But for the longest time, the one day where they collect the taxes from the people then they use the money for their own personal gain. Let me give you an example. Pequito is one example, right? They made a road, Collegiate School Road, off Wilkinson Road, right? Pequito was minister or whatever he was. I don't know, in the past administration. Money that was supposed to make roads. Yes, it make the road only to, then they put on only to their own side where they're going to the house. After that, that is government money. But it put on for in your convenience, the rest of the road, if you not go Collegiate School Road, the rest of the road, it come to a fork, it go to your side, it make an, after that, way past your small, it stop, only under the grabu. You go down to the other side, they did not do it because it don't have no benefit and business going down there. And these people, they use with money, where for go for develop with country, for give it sustainable development in our country, where people their life go better. They go there. It's like it is their personal than personal thing. And some of them are going for retirement fund. I keep saying it. The retirement that they look out. There's no integrity. There is no love for you company mankind. There is no care. There is nothing. And how do they sleep at night? Because you know, and Professor talk another word when they talk on the culture. There is culture, there is religion. There are culture where they make people and they waiting and call. And one of the reasons I would say this, why they ban all them things and they become number one, religious leaders and call it a witchcraft and a cult, because that's our forefather stuff. So each its own in religion. But everything where they bring livelihood to people, you cannot take people their livelihood away just because you can do it. And then another thing, if you not remember, when Padul come out Nado, that time when they do that last election, they were red. APC was saying they don't turn Padul red. That was one of the biggest things. Why make me, in my own opinion and observation, why make them punish the rest of the country because the APC turned Padul red? You know what I mean? Because I think they sponsored them that year or whatever, and it was red. And the rest of the people that get in tradition, that get in stuff when they get joy and release themselves from stress, but yet the government decide for ban them with your culture is your culture. Everybody its own. There are some of the cultures that I don't like, but other people practice it. That's their choice. Because, you know, some of the things we don't go past that. We don't understand, say, okay, this is not for waiting and call. We see that they put bombs swear in the street. Okay? They say we believe in God. Okay? We believe in God. But these people that are ruling the country, they go church and mosque. They believe God. But they're doing the things that God say not to do to your company. A leader should not do. A leader should serve in people. A leader should motivate in people for letting life change. A leader should provide and try to encourage people for let them make their life better, let the community better, let the thing better. But they don't do that. But yet they claim they believe God. So now we see the native people then, for whatever reason, and take them bomb sweat and put up. Maybe sometimes the bomb sweat go work because that's their culture. That's what they believe in. So because we don't understand. But yet America just come up space with a civilian, a billionaire, young man, 30-something years old, is a billionaire in America because he gets free capitalism. He don't produce something where make money. Now he's raising money for St. Jude Hospital. What's in St. Jude Hospital? St. Jude Hospital is a hospital that kids go when they get cancer. It is a research hospital. People and they pour money into them. Citizens are donating monthly donation. I donate every month $20 to St. Jude because they are using it for research. We're able for picking them. Sometimes we have to put money for the future. It might not benefit us, but it might benefit the future. But we don't see that in Sierra Leone. When we go, we want to eat right now. We're not a member waiting tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of himself. Tomorrow not go come. That's the mentality. Tomorrow might not come, but then tomorrow there will be your children. Tomorrow there will be your neighbors. Tomorrow there will be your other family members. So we have to cultivate that attitude of love, of caring for one another, of helping one another, and for improve the country. Yes, we all don't come together like, you know, like I say, I love this young lady, anonymous, whatever. She's a progressive mind. I love it in comments where it makes it. That hospital, what they do, if we put shares, we begin and go get the generation, it will pass on. That is what we try to do, but we have to have structures in place. For it to work, we have to have structures in place. And anybody will get the mind of doubt or whatever, that is not the place for you because we have to work on ourselves. Because for the longest time, we have been conditioned in our minds, we have been traumatized, we have been taught, we have been waiting and calls it. You know, it's just like when scientists let me do a rat study one time, then I will leave you. They did a rat study and put water, when a regular water, then they put water where get drugs inside it. Then take the rats then pull them at the environment, then put them in an environment where nothing, they don't have no other choice. It's either take the rats and waiting and call. So because of the environment where they're there, the environment they're not used to, right, they traumatize them. So what they do, they turn to the drugs, they turn to the water where get drugs, for let it go hype them, for let them just numb them pain and all that. Another scientist come, another psychologist come in the recent years. He said, no, hold up, something is wrong with this. Una don't pull the arata come on the environment, but una not give them all the right things for thrive. So what this psychologist did, he takes the same arata then kind, he puts cheese, he puts the granite, he put the other thing the way arata they eat. He put them there, he give inside where go the claim and jump and all he make them, they put the drugs water inside the whatever. Only few people go into the drugs water. All the other ones that they thrive and survive and they were happy, they were functioning because guess what? There were many other choices. But in our society, we don't get choices. We don't get too many choices. And because the government, they keep doing it, government after government, after government, after government, they keep doing it, they're not doing nothing. Then they thief with money, but they're not able to invest in our country. Okay? I remember when I was little, they say Shaka Stephen get hotel na Las Palmas. They say when you go there, when you SUed up, you have to for there, you get to look up. Where's that hotel today? Would I get them? Would I benefit from them? Now we're sitting in the money. You know, not to see them and don't begin this thief. But this government, my frustration with them is they flaunting wealth, they are taking us for granted, they're dismissive of people and concerns. That is my frustration with this government. They are so dismissive, they are so just like, oh, you just they talk because the president said it. I know they answered and they just they talk. When he started, he go say, okay, yeah, inspection. I was happy. I said, yes, on announced inspection, people will do their work. Now things will change. I was looking at a soldier, you know, with discipline and waiting and concept. Then, you know what the president made in comments? Afterward, don't do it. Or some people, they want, for that, they go on, be a big man, then you build it. They don't go able down there. That's the message of the president. I was like, well, this man not here. You set commissions of inquiry, then you say, oh, now I put them at jail, just want to money back. So people will continue for thief because the punishment is just a slap on the wrist. And then the money will thief. If you thief 100 million, you go pay 50 million back or 20 million back. So what's in the punishment? So it make the environment, all these things they're doing it for the white man to see, say, okay, then they put these things in place. But they don't go by what they're saying. They don't go by what they put it. That's all I get for say. You know, I have a cousin that died yesterday. He passed out. He waiting and called. He passed out. No, nothing. First of all, if ambulance come, the ambulance first of all number not there for court. The ambulance come. If ambulance come, now they never wait say somebody come. They can pick and care of hospital. By tell them which hospital he passed out. He died. Because that's what we don't have these things in place. What would they talk? Not to hate, we hate government because we don't live a better life and we don't see a better side of life. And we have to demand more for ourselves, more for we neighbor them, more for the one that we're not able to talk, when their voice not able to talk. That is the frustration. It is not that we hate people. It is just that the things that they do that we dislike. And we talk and we encourage them and we criticize them with love for let them know, say, hey, listen, we get for it, but it looks like they're not waking up. President Bill got 2 more years. He can change direction. It's a new direction. He can still do them. He can still do good things and wonderful things and mighty things. We can still do them. But, you know, the citizens are doing their own, but then the government, the most responsibility lie in the head of government. Because Mr. Shilon said it, oh, now una been kande, now una say, una they waiting and call. So now una talk to the Lord. Elephant not to pick it, we know. We can't keep it on damage, we know. We know say we lead at them, we don't do bad things there. We know all that. But guess what? You don't sit down at the city, you are able. So work with the people of Sierra Leone, listen to the cry of the people, show concern for the people, come out there, say, I understand my pain, I understand my struggle, we will try. This is what I have done. Show us something. Show us. Cost of living everywhere now is hard. But the people of Sierra Leone have nothing to fall back on. Nothing. So what are you doing as president? All we see is flaunting wealth, is showing off. That's what I see. And that's the frustration, you know. So now let's have a wonderful week by God's grace. Next week we will come, we will come and talk more. But, I said thank you to Mr. Shilon and Mr. Kuchubu, Professor. You all are doing fantastic. I just enjoy the show, but I just mankind inside it for push me on inside it. So I love you now all. Remember, God is love. I love you all. I'm out. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fadima. You calling just make we day because we wanted that voice there for be part of the show. So we were hoping that you go pop up somehow, the spirits go get in you for calls. So you're well, yeah, I mean, we are so happy for hearing your voice. There's
Yeah,
three
we're
things.
inspired by one another. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just three things. Now, my statement, I don't want it to be interpreted that I am supporting President Bio, because I want things to be understood in context. In the context of what the country faces today, knowing what we know about APC's unfitness and lack of sensitivity to the suffering of the people, knowing what we know about APC having the same characteristics as SFPP is today, knowing what we know that these two parties are a recycling of all beaten up politicians, them, the dog of serve in both parties. Knowing all we know, in political science, there is a phrase about viable opposition, meaning a good alternative to what they go on today. I just take the position that, knowing as a lawyer, I rely on evidence and proof and references. We know APC has enough on record for no say they're not fit for run the country. For no say they are just as damaging as this party. This party is still in the driving seat. They can change the course like how you just say. So it's not like I'm wishing, To me, it breaks my heart that if SFPP doesn't make it, I mean, the only party where they show the potential now, that APC, they are licking them chops for comeback, but we know they're not going to do anything any better. We know in fact, they're just going to take off where they left off. That is my agony, that bleeds my heart. Now, there are opposition members in other parties, including NGC. I would love to see Yum Keller being the next president, because he deserves a chance. He's a very competent man, but he has to articulate a vision for the country and let the people know he is the man who deserves. He needs to make a case to the rest of we why APC is not a better choice. He needs to make a case to the rest of we that SFPP is a disappointment. That's all I'm saying. But if he now rise to that level there, because there are so many misconceptions about NGC that he needs to straighten out. You get people in back home who say, oh, nah, and we with the overseas normally support NGC. People don't know what they happen yonder. Well, I for explain to them, say, what do you mean people don't know? They know past sooner. And then people had to help on. And then people had to do this. Now in job, it's a difficult sell, but now in job down there. But I'm just concerned that it is not a consolation to somebody like me that if President Bio fails, Sierra Leone and their life go better. It won't be any better than my own frustration now. So it's not like I am supporting him or I'm trying to say he's better.
But we need new minds. We got a lot of young, vibrant people in both parties. We need new minds. We need new minds. We need radical leader where they bring radical change. We say wrong is wrong. There's no exception. We need young.
Then young minds, Ms. Fadima, they need for come together and form the new party. But as long as they belong to the two party, then they change the knowledge. Then young minds, they become weakened. I tell you, any smart young man, they need for just fend their own. These two parties are no good. Anybody who say any other way, they just don't understand Salone politics. Like Americans think, you say, we ain't going nowhere. If you're there on the SFPP, no forward movement. If you're there on the APC, no. I don't care how many young people. You see how they try for silent tower. You see how they try for silent, what you know, the member of parliament.
That is a good example. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time the young man then try for raise them head, then go smack them down because now the old guard they in charge. Parliament, you get Abbas Bundu, when a grandpapa or great grandpapa for some of them young parliamentarians than they. And so they don't go anywhere. As long as them APC, you see where and the Skoroma, they refuse to give up the guard. And the old guys that they want for them in control. The young one, they are under an illusion if they think, say, with these guys in power, they are going to go anywhere. They're not. So if they're serious about helping the country, they need to form their own political party of the young minds. I will be one of the leading supporters of young, progressive thinking people. You know. That said, there is a lot more to be done, but we're out of time. But there's one thing I want for Professor Kutubu touched on the other day. Some of the indications and the sign and the signal when a country to do well. The Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, meets with the Ghanaian president and trying to create some kind of international relations and foresee what in Ghana can do for themselves in Africa and foresee what America can do for Ghana. I have always taken the position, and this is true, just based on my observation. Any African country will not get some symbolic presence of Americanism, it's not going to make any progress. If you go to any country, you not see an American hotel like Hilton or Marriott, or you not see a Burger King or McDonald's, or you not see a Kentucky Fry. That country, they are still not caught up to the trend. If you want to look out for your country, you're going to have to encourage American investors because it's a symbol of stability. When America begins investing in your country, the world looks at it as a symbol of stability. So we'll get Minister Francis and for understand that, you know, because the way other investors look around the world, the Australian, the Canadian, and say, if an American company can invest now, we can invest. Americans don't invest anywhere where they not see any sign of stability. So we follow them trend in there. So now we also know, say, the vice president, they'll meet with the Ghanaian president. And Ghana has always had a very long-standing policy about tapping on the economic power of Black Americans. We do know that worldwide, the Black Americans have much higher per capita income than any other Blacks in the world. We can have access to the capital, we can get access to the intellect, and we can do something for ourselves. But now we get to be creative enough for know how to work with the Black American. And in Ghana, you see how then they give them in their portion land, encouraging them to come there and invest, either in building private homes or into business. So there are a lot of things we can do because that's on the agenda for today. That's why I brought it up. So unless Professor Kutubu, if you have anything to add to it, I am through, or that's the end of the program for today. But if you do, please give us your own comments.
Well, it's been a pleasure. We come today, and the thing was actually very fruitful, entertaining. And then we just get for thank the guests for being part of the show. And hopefully next Sunday again we'll be back.
Thank you, Professor. And thank you, Ms. Fadima, if you're still listening, for calling. Thank you, listeners. Please stay tuned. We appreciate our contribution and participation. Good night.